Illinois State University, 1,000 miles away from Dhaka, Bangladesh, yet connected through shared stories of struggle and hope. In the fall 2024, I came to ISU for my higher studies. I was trying hard to adapt with my new life here, but my mind was elsewhere, on the streets of Dhaka, with my friends and peers who were struggling for their rights. The spring came a little early this year in Bangladesh, but it wasn't the kind of spring that brings peace and joy. Instead, it brought a wave of resistance that shook the whole country. July 2024, while the world was moving ahead, Bangladesh struck in the middle of a history. The streets of Dhaka were alive, and I was torn between two worlds: a dream to study in the United States and the reality of a revolution back home. But I was not alone in this journey. There were a few others whose story mirrored mine in many ways.
I just got my US visa for my master's degree in political science at Illinois State University as I was preparing for shopping and traveling with my friends to spend the last couple of weeks with my friends and family. So at that time I heard about the protest through mainly media, social media and the old media, and a couple of my friends in universities also actively participated in protest.
The air was heavy, not just with the heat of summer, but with the tension of a nation demanding for change. Our shared anxiety, the feeling of being torn, and the weight of carrying both hope and resistance across the borders were very mutual.
So when the July movement was going on and there was a lot of violence back in Bangladesh, we used to see those on social media, a lot of shootings and firing on students and a lot of students dying, getting injured and everything. We felt really helpless from here as we saw our juniors and many of our friends, associates, colleagues were getting hurt, and as I was here very far away from my country, it made me very conscious that what's happening there, what's going on. And to be honest, I was very much worried about my family and friends there.
The government completely shut down the internet for 5 days, and I could not connect to my friends or take money from ATM booths because there was the internet connections to the ATMs.
So when the government shut down the internet in Bangladesh, it was a really hard time for us, everyone here, and other Bangladeshi students I know. Everyone was trying to reach their family and friends back there. Are they safe or not? Are they okay? But it was a really hard time for us because we couldn't use social media to connect with them, or even the direct calls, international calls were being. There were a lot of issues doing international calls because the network was dropping, and it was a very intense situation because for me, I couldn't talk to my parents properly or anything, so that made us really worried. And in that moment, we felt like the situation is really getting out of hand, and everyone should raise their voice. And that's why when we decided we should do something, and do a protest here so that we can alert the international community.
I think the protester organized the protest and other events solely through social media, and they gave us like minute by minute updates on everything that is going to happen and which places. So I don't think without the social media it would have been possible to organize such protest in a very, very short time.
It inspired us to do something because we saw that a lot of international students, like the international communities, they are coming together from other universities and they are doing protests, and we thought that we should do something like that because we felt like it would at least influence the Bangladeshi students to do what they're doing, to raise their voice for their rights. And we also planned to do a protest here in the quad of ISU.
And the governments actually used social media as a surveillance tools, and we have seen that many of the protesters who were very active in the social media had been detained and arrested for their activism. So it worked kind of a like double-edged sword. Everybody tried to use it for their ultimate benefits. All media, I think they were too pro-government, and they're kind of afraid going against the government because there was huge pressure from the government to the media industries. Specifically, I worked as a journalist in a daily newspaper, so I know that what kind of pressures they feel. So that's why my go-to information hub was the social media, and they keep me updated on the go. And I had many friends who joined the protest. They were in the field. Although I was very active in Facebook and Twitter for getting information, I don't think I have ever commented any post or shared any post or have written anything that goes against the government because I was probably worried about the repercussions that I have to deal with, because I really never thought that the protesters would ultimately topple the government, and I was worried about the consequences because we have seen in Bangladesh government take really serious actions with and criticize the ruling regime.
Thousands of students were beaten, arrested, and even killed. But they didn't back down. The government tried to silence the students, but when the internet went down, the streets came alive. These movements are much more than political. They are cultural expressions of resistance.
And also, social media, I think, is heavily surveilled by the government, and there is a fear that they monitor everything, and they also had made many arrests based on social media posts and comments. So it's really difficult to take actions on social media too.
The streets transformed into a stage where art, music, and performance converged, turning the movement into a living, breathing expression of collective identity.
So, as a developing country, many people live outside Bangladesh, and almost every other country has a diaspora community. And during the July movement and during the student protest, I feel like everyone feels some sort of connectivity with their country. Um, they get tensed, they get nervous when something bad is happening in their country. So I felt like everyone tried to contribute it, even they are not in the country, they're outside. Like I heard a lot of people stop sending remittance, which affected the economy, and also like in not even just America, in other countries, in Middle East, in Australia, in other South American countries, in Canada, I've seen people protesting and trying to aware the international community, the United Nations, and other organizations to raise their voice and stop the violence back in the country. So these small things, all put together, made a contribution to the protest. I felt like that, like without the involvement of international community, it wouldn't have been so easy.
But the truth is, fear and silence travel with us. They follow us like invisible baggage. It doesn't matter where we go. Surveillance, repression, control, the system of suppression, they're everywhere. In the streets, on our screens, in our minds. But we carry resistance too. The more you silence it, the louder it becomes. Because resistance travels faster than fear. Activism is no longer confined to borders. Repression can be local, but the resistance is universal.